Hey guys, today here we have a Doom raid and Nimrod war. First off, Killmonger. The nodes don't matter here at all, so yeah, Doom versus Killmonger, pretty simple. Just L3, L2 as usual, fight will end, and yeah. So there's the placebo, all this, but of course, Killmonger can't take advantage of any of that, so it does not matter. And yeah, we have armor breaks, so Killmonger is nothing. Pretty simple fight, but yeah, not much to really say on this end, of course. Yeah. um, Getting to use Doom so much is definitely nice. I have a 9 fight war today. So yeah. I did have a couple of fights that were a little bit scary, that I was a little bit worried about going in. The one I was most worried about was the 54 Mangog with Reed. Um, there were a few things to keep in mind to make sure he wouldn't get to his 10 mass and then go unstoppable and unblockable and everything. And that's really the main problem fight I had this war. The rest of my fights were, fairly standard fights. We have this Reed versus Chavez. It has the placebo node. The placebo node here is a I forget what it's called, but the placebo only activates when you repeat combos. So with that, yeah, it's combat deja vu. Okay. So with that, you don't really need like a buff immune option for this fight, so I'm just gonna use Reed. You could definitely doom this fight as well. Just doing medium, light, heavy the whole time, definitely possible. But you might as well just read and get some extra pre-fights. And yeah, here we activate a placebo, not the end of the world. It's only one, and we have 2 petrifies up at this point. And yeah, what we're trying to do here is to get the fight over with a bunch of debuffs on, so I can get some extra pre-fights for later fights. And we succeed at that. Got as many as I needed. For a Maw mini and a Nova mini later on that I just wanted some pre-fights on. And yeah, next up we have this 20 Terrax. This is just a L2 fight. There's not much actual strategy going on here. It is mostly just trying to use your L2s as much as you can and getting Mystic Dispersion. Doom is a great counter, regardless of not really countering the fight, so yeah. We have power backs on, of course. And yeah. Not much I can really say about this fight. We're gonna handily outdamage it. Unsteady ground does not really matter here. In general, it's not gonna matter all that much. Anyway, but yeah. We get an L2 crit there, so that speeds up a little bit. Here we eat a combo. Doesn't really matter because it's Doom. And yeah, here we do this stagger. Luckily it did not push me to my L3. I definitely do not want to throw L3s. They would slow down the fight pretty considerably. I mean, it wouldn't be like a death if I threw my L3 or anything, just some wasted time, and yeah. Thankfully, we just keep going with L2s. Yeah, very easy fight. Next up, we have Nimrod versus Kitty. Pretty easy time here. We just get our L2, and we end the fight, and that's all there is to it, really. Yeah, it's Nimrod versus Kitty. This is one of the matchups everybody has seen. You can take this on literally any node, and it will be very, very, very easy. Yeah, there's not much to say here. Yeah, the power sting does barely any damage, so that doesn't matter. You can just ignore that mostly, because you're only going to throw one L2, so even if you had, like, 2 power stings up, it wouldn't matter. Yeah. Nimrod just doing his thing. Yeah, here I just throw my L2, and yeah, the fight is over now. And next up, we have an Annihilus on node 28 with Doom. This is, I think, my quickest fight other than that Kitty. This was my next quickest fight. L3, L2, Mystic Dispersion, shenanigans, everything. Pretty easy fight. Now, the danger and why this is placed is because of the prowess node. That means that if a Nihilist does throw an L3 and you don't have an Invuln, that you will die. No matter who you are using, I don't think there's a single champion in the game that could tank that with that prowess node without an Invuln. So that's why this is placed. As far as the actual difficulty of the fight, it's not very difficult. It's just one of those one mistake kill fight placements that you see a lot of the time. But yeah, if, you know, something to watch out for, but not something that I would ever really be worried about. Um, you know, another L2, boop, fight's over. Then we've got Mr. Negative with Nimrod. This is, again, not really anything to this fight. I'm just gonna throw 2 L2s and end it. Since I am not parrying at all, I won't be getting the extra armors to be able to end this fight in like 1 L2 like you normally would with Nimrod. But that's perfectly fine. We can just build up to a second L2. It's not a dangerous fight, so I have no problems taking it a little bit slow. And yeah. I believe this fight took a little bit over a minute, but yeah, nothing that there's really dangerous at all about this fight. It's just a little bit slow. And yeah, we're gonna remove the prowess. You can still remove the prowess through glancing. It doesn't affect that. So you don't have to pay attention to the glancing basically at all, except for when you're throwing special attacks. So yeah. Yeah, here we're getting ready to throw our first L2. We're gonna throw it when we are in the orange phase, so we get the shocks. And yeah, you don't need to get to L10 or whatever. It's perfectly fine to throw it under that as long as you're in the orange phase. And yeah, we're gonna end on our next L2. And now we're gonna have the 10 charges, so we don't have to worry about whether or not we're in the orange or the blue phase. And yeah, we're gonna be able to have a pretty easy time with this fight. I parry here, not the end of the world. This does mean he's gonna get some slight regen, but it does not matter. And yeah, fight's over. And then we have a Nova with Doom. We're gonna have a Petrify and a debuff Siphon here. And we're invulning. The invuln is not really for the Nova, it's for the Aarkus afterwards, but you might as well invuln for both fights if you're invulning for one of them. So yeah. There's a return policy and everything here. It does not matter. It's just a Nova with Doom. You're gonna do Doom things and you're gonna win the fight, basically. Yeah. We're building up to our L3. We're gonna have Mystic Powerbacks on, Mystic Dispersion 5, so all of that will make this fight reasonably quick. Not super quick or anything, but it's, for a boss island fight, it's not gonna be slow. He does have some resistances to unblockable and stuff, so that's why I'm not really going for L2s in this fight. I believe I end up going with only L3s for the whole fight. Yeah, I went for 3 L3s and that ended the fight. Here, I was trying to just perma L3 lock him, but the small time between when your light ends and when the power steal happens lets him throw an L2. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna just now finish this off, and we're back to another L3. And yeah, that's all for this fight. Next up, we have an Aarkus. Now, the main thing with the Aarkus that I want to run an invuln for is if the prowesses got a little bit out of hand and you couldn't, nullify enough power gains to, permanently keep your L3 cycle going, then what would happen is you'd eat an L3 with a lot of prowess, and it definitely would not kill Doom. But I wanted to have the invuln regardless, just so, there was zero danger in a very easy fight. I didn't want to die to something stupid. And yeah. For the start, we're just getting our L2 going. That's, the main thing I want to focus on here. I mistimed this just slightly, so I didn't nullify that power gain. But here we're at our L3, so we're in what we're meant to be doing. And after this L3, I actually end up getting really unlucky, and it happens, or I didn't nullify, I believe, even a single power gain after this L3, which was a little bit wild. yeah, I just do not nullify a single power gain. I do nullify a prowess, but not a single power gain got nullified in any of those combos, which is really unlucky, but it doesn't matter anyway because the fight's just over right here, and he didn't even throw the L3 when he could have, so that was weird. But yeah, um, yeah, fight's over. Pretty easy fight. And yet, next up we have the 54 Mangog with Reed. I much prefer to use Scorpion with the Venom or Agent Venom. I mean, that synergy. Scorpion with that synergy ends this fight in like 30 to 40 seconds, and he can block unblockable. So he's definitely the best counter to this fight, especially with that synergy. But we could not fit him with the synergy, and here is a mistake, so it doesn't matter because I didn't get punished. But yeah, that is definitely the best counter, but Reed is definitely very safe. And the thing with Reed is it's very easy to make a bad decision when there are so many abilities that you want to keep track of in this fight. When you're really comfortable with Reed, it's basically just second nature. But for someone who's not super comfortable with Reed, this fight can go very poorly, very quickly. Because if he gets that stun immune, unblockable, unstoppable, and he just, doesn't throw it during the stagger, you don't have a special to get rid of it, then he's going to be really annoying. And yeah, here we evade the whole L2, which was nice. But yeah, now at this point, it's just about keeping the debuffs up. As long as we keep these debuffs up, we'll win the fight. If we can get another L2 off, that would be fantastic. If we can't, it's also perfectly fine to just stick with this 2 sets of debuffs. That's perfectly safe as well. And we don't want him throwing an L1 when he is at the 9 charges here. Here we eat the whole L2, didn't evade any hits, that's perfectly fine, not the end of the world. And here we're getting into a good position to start ending the fight. We do have both of the weaknesses and everything. And yeah, we just want to throw another L1. We were blocking everything, we got some evades, whatever. And yeah, here, throw another L1. And we're gonna just do another L1, and the fight is over like that. Pretty slow fight, but decent. And yeah, thank you to my Patreon supporters, Senor Dunny and Mega Skater. So, take care, guys.